Welcome to Investigating Female Aging Through Creative Practice, a workshop with myself, Beverley Carruthers, and Jane Woollatt. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Crash and Judith for inviting us, and for London College of Communication for supporting the event as well. Yeah, so welcome. It's great to see so many of you here. It's really brilliant. Just a little bit about how we're going to run the event today, just to kind of let you know what's going to happen, because it's quite good to know what's going to happen over the hour. Basically, to start with, we'll do a little introduction to the work that me and Jane collaborate on, a body of work called In Plain Sight Unseen. We will I know some of you may have been here last week in the event that we did, an In Conversation with Rosie Martin and Kay Goodrich, and Kay's here today, which is great. So you might have seen this presentation, but it's only like the first 5 minutes, so not to worry about that. For the workshop itself, Jane and I have kind of prepared a storyboard, a project that we've done, we've tried to unpick it and illustrate how we've gone through the process, and just as an example of what is possible, kind of thing. And it's been done in hindsight and retrospectively, and if we did it again, we would probably do things slightly differently. So it's not really set in stone or anything. It's just as an example of to try and illustrate the way that we think and the way that we work. So we're hoping that's useful as well. There will be some kind of things to do in the workshop. Yeah, so some things to do, and you'll need, for that, you'll need like a pencil, a pen, couple of bits of paper, some things like that. So, well, just those things, actually, nothing more than that. So pencil or a pen and 3 or 4 bits of paper. That would be really brilliant if you can get that. We will give you a little moment at the beginning before we start any of that. And we'll give you a moment to go and collect that. Yeah. Okay. In Plain Sight Unseen is a collaborative project between myself, Beverley Carruthers, and Jane Woollatt, investigating menopause. We deliberately chose to locate the project on Two Tree Island. It is edged with gullies and cuts that empty and fill, echoing the fill and flow of menstruation. We met at art school over 35 years ago. Our collaboration is built on this shared history, both personally and as artists, and has become a kind of unique element of the art practice itself. Menopause happens unseen, shrouded in secrecy and uncertainty. We asked a question: what if you knew when your last period would be? What kind of ritual or ceremony would you create? Working together gave us permission to take artistic risks, things that we'd never do alone. Yeah, we made costumes and props, and with the help of Andy Delaney, we made a short film. And we also made some text and image work as well, which I'll leave you to read on your own here. Initially, our focus was on the menstrual years. It seemed that we weren't quite ready to give that up yet. With our faces covered, we were anonymous, invisible, in plain sight, in a public space, something that reflects the change of identity during menopause. We had been searching for a shape, a metaphor that fits menopause. We asked, what if Mother Earth is menopausal? How would she feel? Is she grieving? Is she furious? Depleted of her riches, used up, she had been treated badly, taken for granted, overlooked and exhausted. In response to this sense of loss, we made shrines and offerings to the island. The island is a place of unique natural beauty. We walk and talk, dressed her, making small marks to highlight her charm and beauty. Depending on the time of year, she presents us with different aspects of herself. The trees are low, old, covered in moss and lichen, gnarly and lived in, and we give thanks. We wrote love letters to our womb and to our mother within. We removed ourselves from the images, empty, shedding and changing our identity. Older women in the past were often outcast, living on the margins, crones and witches, treated badly. Many suffered torture and persecution. Continuing our search for words and a story, we turned our attention to fury, this time using text from ancient myths as a starting point. We started to make the costumes more symbolic, deliberately referencing the goddess. Behind a mask is fun. We're in disguise. Dog walkers and passers-by are often curious and ask us questions. Pushing limits, the tide had changed. We were surrounded by water. Spontaneously, we lay down. The costumes are heavy and filled with water, making it hard to breathe. We are becoming more accustomed to our renewed identity, more animated and confident. This was a lot of fun. We take up striking poses with confidence and pride. We're looking forward to making more images and bring our investigation of menopause to a conclusion.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so, okay. So thank you. That's just by way of introducing what me and Jane have been doing over the last 5 years together, just to kind of give you a little bit of a bit of background, a little flavor of what it is that we're doing. Yeah. Okay.
I would like, can I?
Yeah, please.
What I'd like you all to do, if it's possible, just for an absolute moment, is just write down on a piece of paper what your best hopes are, what you'd like to get out of spending a bit of time with us today for this workshop. So just 3 words, but kind of, yeah, your best hopes for spending time with us. We'll just write those down, and hopefully we'll have a little think to see, or we'll give you a moment just to see if we've matched up to your hopes. So to start with, I don't know if you, hopefully everyone's got a piece of paper. What we'd like to do is ask you just to spend, I suppose if we say 5 minutes, does that feel like long enough, Beverley, do you think?
Yeah. Can you see that on my screen, Jane? Can you see
Yes,
that?
darling.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Okay.
Of course,
Okay.
sweet.
Yeah. I thought I'd just write it down just in case. It's just easier. I notice there's people from all over the world here, actually. So it's just easier, to see it in a written format, maybe. Yeah, if you just take a few minutes, maybe 3 minutes or something, to write your best hopes for the workshop, what you want to get out of the workshop. And actually it just gives you a few minutes, a couple of minutes as well, to go and get pen, paper, and the things that you need to be able to do that. I'm just going to kind of put a vague timer on it.
Was that too right number?
Maybe that's long enough, actually. Yeah, do you think? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that seems okay. Okay. Obviously just raise your hand or something, if there's, if there's a problem, you can raise your hand and we can kind of talk you through it. The next thing that we'd like you to do is write down your thoughts of aging and or menopause. So for about 5 minutes, so we'll give you about 5 minutes for this one. Whoops, sorry. For about 5 minutes, we'd like you to think about aging and or menopause and record whatever comes up. So try to do it without, kind of Googling it and, kind of looking what others are saying about it or anything like that. Try and think about it from your own perspective, from your knowledge of maybe of yourself, or your knowledge of friends, or when you've looked at other people, or you've had conversations with other people or relatives. Maybe it is about yourself, but maybe it's about other people. And maybe you could also think about, how it makes you feel. Maybe there's something to do with how it makes you feel, how maybe even being asked to do this, maybe there's a slight resistance to doing it. Maybe there's a kind of put attention in there that, kind of, oh, what, you want me to write about this? Maybe that, but notice these things. Basically just clock them and notice if you've got these kinds of resistances or a
You
mood
don't have to
change or
respond in
anything
the
like
chat
that.
box. It's all personal. Keep it's just for your notes.
Yeah.
And I guess write as much or as little, but it's sort of just go for it.
Yeah. And we're not going to share this. So this is, as Jane says, it's completely for your own use. We're not going to, you don't need to share any of this. So you can just write as much as you like. And in the next stage, we'll kind of, we'll get to the next point in any case. But just for the moment, if you just take 5 minutes, thinking about your relationship with aging or other people's relationship with aging and menopause. So I will be quiet now so that you can have some time to do it.
I suppose also what we're giving everyone a sort of sense of is some of the stuff that I sort of feel for is what Beverley and I have been doing.
Yes, exactly. These are the kind of things that Jane and I put ourselves through. And yeah, we put ourselves through this as part of our process as well. So yeah.
Does that feel like long enough?
Maybe another 30 seconds. Should we do another 30 seconds just to help?
It'd be good if we could have some hands up or hands down, just a little bit of feedback.
Do you need some more time?
Someone said yes, so that's brilliant. I will go along with whoever that person is. Oh, someone else said no. Strange having so little interaction. It's hard to go.
Yeah. Okay, so I think maybe that's around about enough time. So we can maybe go on to the next stage. And don't worry, I mean, I can see that some people are just arriving. So you've kind of arrived halfway through the activity.
It won't matter.
Don't worry about it.
No.
Really don't worry about it, you know.
There's time to catch up and it will make sense, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Oh. Okay, so yeah, the next thing is to look at what you've written. So now, you know, kind of you've got a chunk of writing there. So look at what you've written and start to pull out what, whoops, sorry. Oh, I wanted to do that, sorry. Sorry about that. Try and pull out maybe themes or topics or words, things that catch your attention. So, you know, read through what you've written and start to pull out some of the things that you think that you're instinctively kind of drawn to, something that kind of just kind of shouts out at you a little bit, and you think, ah, right, okay. And actually,
or that you could imagine becoming something else. So it's almost a kind of as if they could be the seed or a germ for something in the future.
Yeah. Yes, another possibility. So, and if you make a note of these, and then if you can write them down on a new piece of paper, so you've got them as well.
Should we go on to that now then?
Yeah. So, yep. So if you're ready with that. Now, what we'd like to do is introduce you to a piece of writing. And I'm going to read it out to you, but it's also on the screen so you can see it as well. So I'll read it, but obviously, you know, kind of, yeah, in any case. Oh, sorry. Okay, and when I read it, or when you're reading it, if you can kind of underline, or not underline, if you can kind of think of words that are kind of resonating with you, again, just pulling words out of this. So you know, taking a few words or half a sentence or little phrases or something from this, and write them down onto a piece of paper as well.
So they could be something that you experience in response to reading it, or it could be something that you note within the text. So either way, I suppose in a sense, don't censor, just capture everything that comes to mind.
Yeah. So it might be, it might be a response to it. Okay, so shall I read it, Jane?
Yes, darling.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't see it very well.
Oh, you can't. All right. Okay. So I'm going to read it and it'll give you a chance to, in any case. There was a time when Arachne of Colophon won fame throughout Lydia for her spinning and weaving, though she was of humble birth. Even the nymphs from the mountains and winding rivers travelled far to see her handiwork, or just to see her hands at work. And when they compared her to Athena, Arachne said, "Let her compete with me if she wants." Athena came to her in the guise of an old woman and said, "You do well to heed my advice, girl. Seek only to surpass other mortals in your craft, but leave first place for the goddess. Pray for forgiveness for your rash words." But Arachne's response was full of scorn. "Woman, old age has stripped you of your wits," she cried. See how the goddess refuses my challenge. No, cried Athena, casting off her disguise. She is here. The two set about their embroidery. The theme of Athena's work was her own victory over Poseidon in the contest of patronage of Athens, and she embellished the border with examples of the folly of mortals who challenged the gods. But Arachne showed the gods as seducers and deceivers of mortal women, and her work was perfect. Even Athena could find no fault with it, and in her pride and anger, the dread goddess forced the girl to suicide. But as the maiden was gasping out her last breath in the stranglehold of the noose, Athena let her live, but as a spider, so that she could hang and spin forever.
Do we tell the story of how we found this this little tiny snippet of text?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Beverley and I were on a sort of residency, and we were sort of just sitting around looking for, I suppose, again, as we said in our talk, we were looking for a way in or something to kind of spark our sort of movement forward with the creative process. And we literally I put my hand, there was a whole bookshelf of books, I put my hand on this book, we pulled it out, turned the page, and there was this text which just resonated. It seemed so powerful. And so I suppose some of what we're wanting to encourage, invite, think about is kind of serendipity or spontaneity, how just the tiniest of things can suddenly lead you onto a kind of pathway of a whole piece of work, which is what we've made out of this text, which was found completely by chance, but spoke so strongly to us.
It's from a book called The Greek Myths, Stories of the Greek Gods and Heroes Vividly Retold. And it's by Robin Waterfield, if anybody kind of wanted to go and look it up. Okay, so so yeah, so that's what we've asked you to do: listening and reading the script, make notes, and actually now you have 3 texts. You have your desires of the workshop, you have your initial writing, and you have your 3 texts. What we like you to do over the period of while me and Jane are talking about what we did and what we went through. Or should we do it right now? I'm trying to think.
We do it. Well, I think it would be useful for everyone to see what we've done.
Yeah, I think.
I suppose it just gives a slightly change of I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Colour.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can do it as a share thing.
A share thing at the end. So
yeah.
If you so if you think of your your words, have a look at what you've written. We'll give you a moment as well towards before we put it up onto the whiteboard. But if you've got your 3 bits of text now, and you can start to kind of think about what the key words are, or if there are kind of key bits of text there. Then now me and Jane are just going to talk through what we did a little bit, just as an example, not as the definitive way of doing it in any way whatsoever, but just as an example of the way that we have worked with the text and what we did, and how we brought it into another piece of work as well. So we'll talk through that, and then at the end we'll share all the words and the text that you've got. We'll share that onto the whiteboard. Yeah, does that sound okay?
Brilliant.
Great. Okay, so as Jen said, we in 2019 we did an artist residency at Chalkwell Hall in Southend. And sorry. And we named the residency She's Grieving, She is Furious. It's all part of our In Plain Sight Unseen work that we've been working on. To kind of get started, to try and just kind of find a way into it, one of the wonderful things about Chalkwell Hall is when you go and you stay there, you have these huge, great big blackboards, don't you, Jane? And then, and
Yeah,
we spent the day, you know, kind of just, you
yeah,
know,
two
right,
of them, didn't we? So these are our furies and these are our grievings on each side there, and some of the words. I guess what this is giving a real sense of is how text and image, so it's kind of one and the other, we're kind of weaving, just kind of brainstorming, but also linking it to other things, bigger ideas. So where does grieving fit in? Where does fury and the furies, where do they fit in? So kind of trying to find, I suppose, a shape, metaphors, ideas, ways to explain menopause, but not just from a first person position, but to link it to bigger ideas. It all seems very negative. Yeah, it was pretty negative on that occasion. It gets more fun as we go along, I promise.
Yes.
You got the next slide.
Yeah, sorry, there. So one of the things that we did while we were on the residency, we invited a woman called Ingrid Vassenau along, who had been part of the conference at Crash that we'd done in 2018. And she'd done this really fantastic paper on the Furies, and she runs a Facebook site called Hot Ladies. And she talked about her Facebook site of menopausal women and their stories in relation to Furies. And so we invited her to come along and talk to us about that a little bit more, so that we could kind of think about that as we're thinking about grieving and fury in relation to menopause for our residency as well.
And it was clear it was a very sort of, I don't know, a pertinent, it was an emotion that was very much and felt very much part of how women in menopause often feel, that real flash of fury and rage.
Yeah. This is the book that we were talking about, that we found the script from. And actually, this is the script that we wrote from it.
On the red fabric, wasn't it?
On the fabric. So this is the actual, you know, this is our reinterpretation, our edit of the script. Oops, sorry. This is our edit of the script that we made. And yeah, let her compete with me if she wants. Seek only to surpass mortals with your craft, but leave first place for your ancestors. Ask for forgiveness for your rash words. The wise woman could find no fault in the maiden's work, but unwilling to be surpassed. Time and experience tells her that the pursuit of perfection and seduction is short-lived. So that was our kind of reinterpretation of that bit of text. And
I don't know how many times we wrote it out, Beverley, but it felt like a lot of time. But it became sort of a pattern, didn't it? Or you know, it took on a different life. We wrote it on tracing paper, all sorts.
Yeah, we wrote it, and we wrote it directly onto the fabric. We wrote it on, and actually, importantly, I think we wrote over each other's writing. So Jane would write one way, and then I'd turn the paper over and write over it. So it became this like almost like a chant or like a ritual of some kind of writing and writing and writing, and our different handwriting was really on it as well. And as we can see here, you know, Jane writing on the fabric, and then us cutting the costumes out. you know, the kind of shape of the costume in the middle, and then
it's on a huge table. It's hard to read it as an image, but I suppose what we were doing is definitely not sewing, or there was nothing haute couture about it. In many ways, it looked a little bit like a Teletubby. So it was an unusual costume.
Yeah, very. And then we took some photos with the costume.
Oh, I can hear
Is somebody talking? I'm not sure if
so we made 2 of the costumes, and took the costumes and us to Two Tree Island, and did about 3 or 4 different photo sessions in them with the costumes, these particular ones. And I suppose these are just a few examples, but you can see there's a lot of layering in this fabric of there's handprints, there's text, and then additional marks on top.
I just put this in actually just to reference some of the kind of shapes that we were thinking about when we were kind of standing on the island. We were kind of mimicking, trying to, you know, these very abstract images of femaleness from, and we were, you know, we were directly trying to resonate with, or we were kind of resonating with that, especially when we were kind of trying to make these images.
And I think, Beverley, I mean, it's something that you and I have always been, it's kind of where we came together, isn't it? 35 years ago was our interest in the goddess, the sort of female figurines, all those references to prehistory, really.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, exactly. And also, yeah, so kind of the references to Venus figurines and ancient kind of goddess figurines, we kind of came together because of that. And also, I think in this work in particular, we started to understand that there was a need to become slightly more abstract in the photography. So we needed to get rid of the face. We needed to get rid of identification of ourselves to be able to kind of talk about maybe womanhood or a new shape for menopause in some kind of way.
I'm struck by some of the little things in the chat. Well, I suppose what we very much were aware of, and one of the things that had been going through our minds, is each of our menopause was different. We both experienced it differently. And menopause is, I've come to realise, a very, very unique and individual experience. It's not something that one could sort of say, well, this is how it will be. And I guess what we've been doing through the whole process of making art together is try and kind of make what was going on inside us, you know, maybe in our minds, in our physicality. So take the implicit and make it explicit and share it with each other. So through art, we were able to share that, I don't know, some of that complex stuff that we were going through. And really, it's just an investigation of how it was for us. And maybe there will be bits that will resonate or, you know, kind of chime with other people. It's not something that's often spoken about. And even looking at the figurines, many of the figurines are of fertility rather than, but we did discover, and that was amazing, we discovered some tiny little things in the British Museum, but I would say they were the size of a penny. Not very exciting.
Yeah, and also I think one of the things that we set out to do at the very beginning was to commemorate this moment, to find some way of commemorating this really super important moment in our lives, and whatever happens, you know, I mean, basically, however you feel about that moment in your life, and of course, you know, for many people it is a release. And it is, you know, kind of, we don't have to worry about that about their fertile selves anymore. And we, you know, and there is a real sense of release and jubilation about that. But actually, for everybody, there is definitely, you know, we are leaving something behind as well. There is a bit of ourselves that we're leaving behind. And I think we just felt that actually we wanted to kind of commemorate that in some kind of way. We wanted to give it, we wanted to acknowledge it, to give it some kind of position, some kind, yeah, some kind of importance, a kind of ritual that was connected to it. And we didn't quite realize, you know, that it was going to take us 5 years to do it.
Yeah, and also I think the other thing is that we wanted to take it seriously, and actually to take it seriously has taken this long. So it's not been something that, and each, I suppose with each part we've been discovering more. It's, you know, it's become a very much more rich conversation.
Yeah. So we changed our costumes a little bit, and we made some other costumes. And then this is an example. This is Jane working with that text and coming up. So we're starting to make a new piece of work from this now. Well,
we're bringing the two things together, wasn't it? It was that bringing the text and the images, and how to sort of start to, I suppose, rather than it just being text and image, we're now starting to work on the next, what does it become next? So taking it another step.
Yeah, so this is Jane typing it up, and then I wrote it out and scribbled all over it, and made, you know, kind of my notes and things. And then kind of found some language that I was kind of happy with, and Jane found her bits of text that she was happy with. I didn't put these three together: you dismiss, I persist, we witness. I put those together. We started to work with the image, thinking about creating, well, we wanted to create a kind of spider image, so we used these.
But it's curious, isn't it? Because I think there's been such an amount of, so some of it, I mean, it was lucky. It looked like a spider and it fitted the story, and that was what was so great. And then we amplified that. We went further with that and kind of, you know, made it much, much more spidery.
Yes. Yeah. And we ended up with these kind of images that we'd created from the photographs, that we wanted to bring together. I think one of the things about this was that we realized that a static image, a static image was a bit reductive when we were kind of trying to express some kind of fury.
And also fury has so much energy, doesn't it? It was trying to get almost a sound into the, you know, that kind of sense of a scream or a shout or a, so it's, yeah, as you're saying, Beverley, kind of animation or energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of felt like we needed to do something more to it and kind of animate it. And we started to look at protest banners and kind of, banners, and how banners had been used, and how women had, you know, sewn a lot of banners. It was a lot to do with that. And we looked at artists as well, different artists. And
so I kind of put the banner together in terms of the design, with a friend who has skills in that area. Beverley and I were ways out of our technical comfort zone. So I asked a friend, Jo Clark, to help me, help us, which she did. It really helped us move things on, because otherwise we were sort of a bit stuck.
Yeah, we had all these ideas, but we didn't really know how to put them into action and everything. So it's brilliant that Jo can do that for us. So we were looking at all of these artists, and then we started to start to put our ideas together, and Jane started to sketch it out a bit and kind of working with banners that we would then go back onto the island as a kind of procession. Whoops, sorry. And so this these are the front, so there's a kind of enough is enough and no more, and I persist and you dismiss on there. And then this is like the front and the back of the banners. So this is just, we're just kind of, you know, taking you through the process of making these banners, basically.
Oh gosh, it'd be lovely to do them on a loom, have them woven. They're about 170 by 80 centimeters. The idea is that we make them up, and you know, kind of we'll go back onto the island, and we'll go back on the island in our first costumes, but carrying these. So it's kind of tying some of the stuff back. They're kind of creating another loop of, I suppose, just complexity to the story, which again seems to fit with the idea of menopause not being just a linear process, but having layers, thinking about the ancestors, our grandparents, our great-grandparents. Yeah, so it's kind of, and also it's somehow what Beverley and I have really found we've not been satisfied with yet is there's not been a kind of end product as such, as sort of a final image or a final performance or sort of set piece, and that's, I think, where we're gradually heading towards.
Yeah, yeah, and also it feels yeah, not ready to give up, you know, and we want to go, you know, yeah, it's work
in progress. We want
to take it back onto the island, and we, you know, the whole body of work is called In Plain Sight Unseen. So we want to be seen, we want to be visible. It's like it's our kind of protest, if you like. It's our call to arms. It's our yeah, it's I
don't know about you, Beverley, but when you were doing the words, and I know, so I know for myself, when I was doing the words, what I suddenly kind of tapped into was a feeling of every woman, and you know, kind of, and also the maybe the, you know, climate change, that kind of stuff, but a real sort of call to arms, and also some very strong sense of how important protest and having a voice and being heard, and I guess being seen, but actually having a say, you know, saying no, this is not good, you know, stop. So that was some of the stuff I was channeling, and I'm quite sure Beverley was, looking at her words.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of background into that as well. Sorry, I'm trying to read all the chat as well at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's terrible, isn't it? It's like I'm sort of sitting here, it's like a ticker tape. It's amazing.
Yeah, it looks like there's some really interesting things being said in the chat. So yeah, yeah.
It'd be lovely to see everybody. I wonder if everyone
yeah,
can
maybe
show
we can all put our
themselves.
cameras on now. I don't know.
It'd be lovely. Everyone emerges. We'll have a lovely. Oh, it'd be wonderful. All these faces.
Yeah. Oh, how nice. Yeah.
Hope you've enjoyed some of this. Oh.
Yeah, it's really nice to see everybody.
Even though I'm called George, it's lovely.
So I wonder, at the end of all of that, I wonder, shall I put the whiteboard up? And we've just got a few moments to kind of to be honest, I haven't done this before, so I'm just kind of hoping that whoops. That was
I think you can type onto it, and you know, kind of people can just put whatever they want up there. I think.
So I think if you just click on the text button at the top, then you can type whatever you like into it. And hopefully the idea would be that we end up try not to do erase, because I think that might erase everything. Yeah. So, but if you just put your words up, and then actually the idea would be that we have a collection of a large collection of your words in one space, which would be really interesting.
And I hope we've given you some sense of our, I suppose our, let's say our route or our pathway through, from starting with a serendipitous kind of chance encounter with some words, linking that then with our ongoing kind of investigation of menopause, and then turning that into a complete kind of piece of work. So I hope that sort of, well, we hope that's how it's been experienced. I love people's writing.
Excellent. I don't know, Jen, do you know how to post the link? How do you put words on? You click at the top.
You can just type on it. So if on top, there's like when you get the little box, you can just type in it. I can see people are doing it. So who's got that one? Let me see if I can do it. I think you just literally type into the box.
Yeah, you just click on the thing and then you can type onto it.
It should just, you can just type. Yeah, that's it. There we go.
Perfect.
I mean, you can write. Unless people want to just put it in the chat, I guess. It's going to be a little bit more tricky for us to maybe bring it all together. But if people want to put it in there, it's lovely. Either way. I guess what we're doing is saying, have your say, have your voice. Contradictions, wisdom, liberating, fleeting,
transition.
Oh gosh, fantastic.
Wisdom comes with age. That's fantastic, isn't it? It's lovely. Renewal. These are so fantastic. I love all of your writings. It's great. There's a lot of, you know, assertiveness, freedom, wisdom. There's a lot of celebration in the room, I think, which is really a fantastic way to, you know, to finish the session, really, isn't it? There's a kind of, sorry, but it's just a very short film, and I think it just gives a sense of the weight of the material, of the kind of experience of what it's like to be in these costumes. And we haven't really spoken about that so much, but there is something, the costumes themselves have an identity, and they have a role within, a really vital role within the work as well. So shall I just show? There's no sound.